The 116th Congress began last week, and joining me today is Congresswoman Liz Cheney. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Kayla.
Of course. Thanks for stopping by. You're in town for Mark Gordon's inauguration. Were you happy with the results of the latest general election, midterm election?
Well, I was happy to have Mark elected here. I think he is going to be a great governor, and I'm very excited to be at the inauguration this morning. And I know he and Jenny will be wonderful representatives for our state. But I was much less pleased with the results in terms of who has the majority in the House of Representatives, the nationwide results. Of course, the House flipped hands, and so we've now got the Democrats in control and Nancy Pelosi Speaker of the House.
And with that flip over, we are in 2 weeks into the partial government shutdown. Is this a good way to start a new congressional cycle? I
certainly don't think so. I think that, you know, what we're in the middle of a battle over is whether or not we got to protect our borders. And I think that the Democrats, we thought that Speaker Pelosi, once she got the votes that she needed to become Speaker, we were hopeful that she would then sort of turn away from the partisanship and come to the negotiating table and come to an agreement that would allow us to secure the southern border. She hasn't done that, and I think what's happening is she's really captive to the new members. There's a very large new freshman class on the Democratic side of the aisle, and they're very, very far left, and I think they're pulling her very far left, and so we're in a situation where instead of allowing the resources necessary to secure the border, the Democrats have instead decided they're going to just perpetuate this government shutdown.
And speaking about partnership in D.C., the last few years it's been especially volatile, noticeable to a lot of constituents. Do you see a path forward for Republicans and Democrats working together to get back to work and hopefully get the government open soon?
Well, I think that if you look at the last 2 years, my first term in Congress, we were able to accomplish a tremendous amount, both because we had Republican control of the House and Senate, and as well as President Trump in the White House. We were just able to accomplish a huge amount for Wyoming in terms of rolling back regulation, cutting taxes, helping to get rid of some of the worst parts of Dodd-Frank, letting our community banks begin to thrive again, really returning authority and power to our state. And I think it's very important that we continue that. We are beginning to see, we were able to stop the war on coal that the Obama administration started, stop the war on fossil fuels. And as the Democrats take over in the House, they will try to undo many of those accomplishments. And we've got to stop that. We've had, just record numbers of job creation and economic growth. We just saw the new numbers come out a few days ago for the nation. And we've got to make sure that momentum continues. And unfortunately, the first bills that the Democrats have put on the floor, the very first thing they did was put a rule in place to make it easier for them to raise people's taxes. And that tells you exactly the path they're going to go down. So I'm going to continue working with John and Mike over on the Senate side to fight for Wyoming and stop them from being able to undo what we've done.
Okay. And one thing that's kind of gone underreported is the Violence Against Women Act was not reauthorized, and I know part of that funding is not able to get to it because of the partial government shutdown. Where is that on your priority after the government gets open again?
There are some very serious constitutional issues with the Violence Against Women's Act, and with particularly some of the language that the Democrats put in that would, for example, give reservation authorities the ability to have more authority over people that don't live on the reservation, for example, and so we've got to be very careful about that and making sure that anything that we do in an effort to protect women doesn't end up actually violating the Constitution and not providing the protection that women need. So we'll see what happens. That act has lapsed before, and we'll have to see going forward. But I won't be supporting anything that violates the Constitution or violates the sovereignty of the United States.
Okay. And my next one, because I'm curious, you ran against Senator Mike Enzi before. His seat is up for re-election come 2020. A lot of people aren't thinking about that election, but then again, some people are. Are you going to be running against him?
No, I will not be. I hope Mike will run again. I am really the opportunity to work with Mike, and he's really a mentor for me, and I benefit tremendously from his advice and from his guidance, and I really love the opportunity to work with him. So we have a great delegation now, and I look forward to continuing to serve Wyoming in the House of Representatives.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
If you missed this interview, it will be online a little later today. But first, all of the events for Governor-elect Mark Gordon's inauguration.